Okay, we're going to walk back through making these parts in Onshape for a puzzle, the ones that you see here, and also that I physically have in front of me. So these pieces are shapes that we had prototyped and fit together to form a 3x3x3 square. So if I can remember how it goes, I think that goes like that, just like that. Okay, so just to prove and show that those pieces can all fit together. So it's a puzzle. So idea is that you would give these to somebody and not let them see the solution, and that it would be their challenge to figure out how to put them together to form this 3x3x3. Okay, so in Onshape, we need to model these as independent parts. So I have 5 pieces. I should have 5 parts, and that modeling of parts happens in the Part Studio. Okay, and that's what I have here as a preview. And so I'm going to maybe just do them again. I'm going to kind of hide all these real quick in a folder. So let me see just. Okay, so I'll just build them right above where these ones are. Kind of go down the line. So blue, orange, red, purple, green. So you can see how we build them. So to start building an Onshape, you use a sketch. So a 2D thing, and you have to define a sketch plane where we're going to draw. Now, pressing P on your keyboard shows the original kind of primary 3 planes, front, top, right, based on the axes X, Y, and Z. And I have used the front plane every time to start this. You can choose it here graphically, or you can also see it over here in the browser on the left, and you can simply choose the front. But we're trying to get this here to populate with a plane. Okay, so I started with this front plane each and every time. And if I orbit around, you can see that sketch, you get a little light blue kind of rectangle highlighting where your sketch plane is currently active, and it's currently active in kind of coplanar with the front. I hit P to hide those other planes. I don't want to see those. I hit N to look at this plane that I'm sketching on straight on. We don't really want to sketch when we're at an angle, so we'd like to be looking straight on. You also have this view cube where you can click on things, right? Now, each of these puzzle pieces, we were told, is 3/4 of an inch cubed. So 3/4 of an inch is 0.75. Okay, so all of our dimensions are going to be 0.75. I'll use a couple techniques as I go, but one very basic technique to draw these is to simply use a line segment tool and just think about starting in one corner and kind of going up, over, down, over, up, over, down, over, right? And then as we create these line segments, we would be trying to make sure that they are vertical or horizontal, so everything stays nice and square, as well as getting the correct distances typed in. Okay, so I'm going to start with the line segment tool. Now, Onshape, if you're aligned to points, it kind of starts to create these automatic constraints, which are good and bad at times. If I click right now, the endpoint of this first segment is going to be stuck being vertical to that origin. And it's not the end of the world, but it's a relationship down to some other point that maybe I didn't want. So maybe I will try to skew myself. The other thing is I can hold down the Shift key and block that. It won't do that if I hold Shift. Okay, so really it's just for the first point here that I'm worried. But I'm going to click and then move my mouse straight up. And right now, you may or may not tell there's an orange dashed line on top of my blue segment. Okay, kind of like that, but it's on top because it's saying that if I click now, this line will be vertical. And that's what that little black right here to the right, that little black symbol is saying. If you click here, I'm going to constrain you to being vertical. That means you have to be vertical. And I'm good with that. I want vertical and horizontal lines. So how this works is it was a single click to start, a single click to kind of make the segment. As soon as I make the segment, a little box appears where I can type a distance. Now, 2 blocks is 1.5. If you don't know that, you can also use this as a calculator where you can type 0.75 times, that's the asterisk, times 2, and it will do that for you. Math. Cool. All right. Now it chains this. Once you make a segment, the segment tool stays on. And it's kind of ready to chain these together. So next I'm going to come to the right I've got a really big, this is the bad news that I'm sketching with this here, because Onshape sees all these points and lines and it wants to constrain them. So you just need to really be careful that you don't click. Like here would be terrible, but that point is vertically constrained to some other random point. No, I don't want that. So I need to kind of move my mouse and make sure that's not happening. Okay. Here, I'm getting a constraint that this is horizontal, and that's good. The distance I'm going to type after I click. So it's kind of click for the first segment, move my mouse in the direction, click, and then type. Now it's on my keyboard, type 0.75 and enter. There you go. Next, I'm going to turn vertical. All I care about is clicking when it's vertical, and then I will type 0.75. So I'm going to work my way around this shape. Here, I do not want to click if you've got some constraint lighting up to some other point random. So do not click right there. Move your mouse, little left, little right. Just horizontal constraint for this segment's good, but don't let the endpoint get constrained to anything else. So click and then edit your distance, 0.75. All right, then I'm going to come straight down. It's vertical. I'm going to click 0.75. I'm going to go to the right. One block is, right, it can be longer, just wherever you got to be to make sure it's horizontal. Now, perpendicular to a vertical is horizontal, so right now I'm getting a perpendicular symbol. It's the same thing, perpendicular to vertical or horizontal. So click, and this is one block, so 0.75. Then I'm going to come down for 2 blocks, so I'm going to make it vertical. Now it's showing parallel to a vertical line that's also vertical. So click and type 1.5. And then it's not straight across at the end. If it makes a curve instead of a line, just bring your cursor back and move it again. It kind of toggles. This is not clicking. This is just moving my mouse back to the starting point and back. It toggles between arcs and segments when you do that. So kind of a handy thing. It makes it quick for people who's doing both. All right, so I'm going to come across, point across towards the bottom. I'm going to click 0.75. On a vertical segment, click 0.75. Horizontal again, not an arc. Click 0.75. I'm going to have lots of dimensions, but this is a basic way to just kind of dimension everything as you go. I'm going to go down 0.75. And the last one, I don't need a dimension. I just need to connect right back to there. Now, your sketch, everything's blue. Blue actually means that things are not fully constrained, like not fully stuck. When we talk about sketches being fully stuck, that means the shape is stuck, the size is stuck, and the location. In this case, I sized everything, and I have all my perpendicular verticals, so the shape and size are good. The problem is the location. If I want to fix this, to make it so it can't float, I use a tool called Fix. Okay, this is what it looks like. For me, it's in this little drop-down menu because I'm zoomed in enough on my screen that things are collapsed into menus. And there's Fix. You can also use the search toolbox to look for tools if you know their names, like that. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the Fix tool, and I'm going to fix a single corner. That's it. I never fix more than a single point in a single sketch. When everything turns black, that lets you know that you had enough constraints. Lord knows I had enough. I dimensioned every single segment. So it might look a little neater to pull these to the outside. That one's actually for this side. That was for that segment, but there you go. So between the horizontals, verticals, or parallel and perpendiculars, and all the sizes, this thing is stuck in that size. I hit accept on the sketch, and then I'm going to orbit a little bit just so you guys can see when I extrude this that it's going to become 3D. The next tool after sketch is to extrude. I click that. It needs to be on solid, and then you choose this gray region. So when you have a closed region, when I brought that all the way back to where I started, it became a closed region. I click in the gray, and it's going to extrude that. It's going to make it push or pull in space, leaving material behind. So the depth of this is supposed to be a single block, which is 0.75. Hit accept. And now to color it blue and to name it, I can come down to where the part shows up in this part list. It's the most recent thing built. I right click and I can rename it blue part. Didn't know if it was going to have a problem with me naming two parts the same name, but it didn't. Then to actually color it blue, I right click again and I choose down a little bit is edit appearance. From here, I click the blue color I want. It doesn't really matter. You can change the blue you want if you want, but and then you accept it. And the last thing that you might do is put the two items that you use to build this part into a folder called the blue part. So I click on these two items. I can say add folder. When they're highlighted, they will be put into the new folder. So I'm going to call this blue part. Okay. And down the line we will go. All right, so the next one, sketch. We'll get faster each time. Front face. Okay. I'm just going to use the same technique of the line segment tool. I'm being careful not to click with any auto constraints like this. I don't want that. I want this thing to have some freedom. For right now, I'm going to go vertical 0.75. So I'm tracing the yellow piece. Think about I'm starting with that bottom left corner. So I'm going to go up for one block. I'm going to go right for one block. So I just go right, I get horizontal, I click, and then I use my keyboard to type. I just move my mouse and nudge it in the direction, and I click, and then I type. So I'm back and forth between the keyboard and the mouse. I'm just using one hand. So one hand on the mouse to start to move and just encourage a segment to be horizontal. I click, let go of the mouse, go to my keyboard, 0.75. And I'm going to come down, get it vertical, click, 0.75. Go to the right, 0.75. Go down, click, 0.75, right? So I'm getting the direction. When I click, I get the distance by typing. Last segment can just come back to close this off, click back to where I started. It becomes gray. That tells me it's closed. The only thing I want to do is fix one corner, make sure everything turns black. That tells me it's fully constrained for size, shape, and location. Accept that sketch. I'll orbit a little bit, so that's holding down the right mouse button so you can see. You'll be able to see the top and the right as I extrude. Extrude, choose the gray area. It has to be on solid. Sometimes students accidentally somehow click there on the surface by accident. So extrude, the depth is one block, 0.75. That is the part. Now, these two steps were used. I'm going to add a folder, call it orange part. And then I get another part in my list, and I'm going to call that the orange part. So I'm just basically getting to recreate all the stuff that I already created so you can see it in action. All right, to color that orange part, I right click, edit appearance, and pick an orange. Okay. All right, for the red is different than the first two. Blue and orange, all the cubes for blue and orange can line up. All the cubes were in kind of the same row or column. But red is a little different. I've got a bunch of blocks kind of here in this row, but I've got this one extra block that's out in front. So when I sketch, I'm going to sketch this L profile because there are 4 blocks in there. Let me do something here. Okay. So I'm going to do that L shape, and I'm going to extrude that, and I'm going to get this. Okay, that'll get me to basically right here. Then I will do a sketch right where that tan piece is, and I'll extrude that. But that's going to have to be a second sketch. It's going to have to be on the face of the L. So I will start with that L, extrude it, and make it solid. Then I will do a second sketch right here and extrude that out one block. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so let's start sketching. Sketch on the front plane. Okay, shows front plane. I'm going to press N to turn kind of straight on, normal. And now to do an L shape, this could be instead of using my line segment tool, how about this technique? What if I make a rectangle that has the correct overall width and height? So again, be careful you don't click, see if I can get something to fire, when there is a constraint like that. So move your mouse, get rid of those yellow lines. If we don't want a point of this sketch to somehow be aligned to that down there. These are independent pieces. I just want a rectangle, so just get a rectangle. Don't worry about the size yet. Just click to establish that's a rectangle, and now type your dimensions. So 3 blocks of width is 2.25. and 2 blocks of height is 1.5. So I'm doing the overall dimensions, the overall width and height. Now, when I extrude this, the L I want, it doesn't have any material here. It's here and down here, right? So how I'm going to define that L is I'm going to make a nested rectangle inside this rectangle. The rectangle tool is still on. I'm going to click my first point attached here to this upper left corner and make a rectangle that comes down and right. So don't care about the exact distance. I just need to get it moving and make sure there's no auto constraints when I click. Okay, there aren't. Click. Now I'm going to type the dimensions. I want to go 2 blocks to the right and vertically 1 block down. Now that establishes my L. Okay, I want the sketch to be black, not blue. So I'm going to fix one corner and make sure that everything turned black, and it did. So I have enough geometry and enough dimensions that this cannot move. It is the exact size and shape. Okay, so I did this as just a kind of 2 rectangles, got me the profile I wanted. Accept the sketch, extrude the L. Don't choose this region, choose this one only. The orbit, so you can see. Come out 1 block, accept. Now we're not done because we have this extra block. So this time, when I choose sketch, I'm not going to choose the front, top, or right plane. I'm going to choose to sketch on this surface. I can choose the surface of a part as long as it's actually a flat surface. It has to be a plane. All right, now if I orbit, you can see that that sketch plane is right on the face of that yellow piece. Okay, so that's where I'm sketching. I'm going to use the rectangle tool, and really I won't even need dimensions. I can get some geometric constraints from the top right corner and the bottom left corner. So I click right here to get that constraint, and then the diagonal point is what I'm controlling. I'm going to have that point locked to that corner. That will make sure that the width and the height are correct. See how it turned black automatically? I'm going to accept that sketch and use extrude to take that out 1 block. Now, when we're building onto a shape that we've already started, it needs to be on add instead of new. If it's on new, it's going to make a new part. So it needs to be on add. It should automatically detect the part that it's already touching. You know, there's already contact with it. If it doesn't for some reason, though, it might turn red. And this merge scope is blue. You need to kind of click that blue box just to make sure Onshape knows what you're doing. What you're kind of doing is say, hey, what I'm about to do is tell you what to merge with. And then you go choose the part that it should add on to. So I just click this yellow block. This red block should add to that yellow. It adds in merging with part 8, which is correct. And you accept. All right. Now I'm going to rename this the yellow. I'm going to color it yellow. It's not actually yellow, is it? Oh, wait, no, it was supposed to be red. I'll keep the colors the same. Edit the appearance and choose a red. Get a nice bright cherry red. All right, 2 more to go. Ooh, actually, in my before I need to fix this real quick. My green piece was actually wrong. This is going to be, this has an extra block. My plastic cube sitting in front of me, and I'm realizing that I never finished that very last piece. Okay, make sure I copy the right pieces, otherwise we'll have trouble with our assembly. All right, so for purple and green, so I'm going to start a sketch. I'm going to start on the front plane. I could use the line segment tool to work my way around the U, or I can do a rectangle that matches the overall width and height, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a rectangle. I'm going to have it be 3 blocks wide, which is 2.25, and 2 blocks tall. Now, I need to have a place that doesn't get extruded in the middle. So I'm going to have a rectangle that's attached to the top. And I'm going to size it. So I'm going to move it down and right and then click and then use my keyboard 0.75 and 0.75. All right. And I'm going to turn on the fix tool. I'm I'm going to lock a single corner and see if everything turns black. And it doesn't. Okay, so what's going on? Well, my big rectangle is stuck. My little rectangle is partially stuck. Okay, it's got dimensions, so it's not allowed to change size or shape. And it's just allowed to move location a little bit. It's actually stuck to this top line, but it's not stuck in any certain place on that top line. It'll move across it. I need to make sure it is exactly in the middle, which really is sizing from one of the sides over to the end of the purple part. That should be exactly one block. So I'm going to turn on my dimension tool. To search for dimension tool, you can also just press the D key on your keyboard, D for dimension. And I'm going to say the distance from here to here. So I'm choosing two parallel lines. Has to be what? 0.75. And then I type. Notice how that locks that into a location. I'm going to hit accept. I'm going to turn on extrude. And I'm going to choose only the U shape, not this shape. So that was there to kind of have a section that does not get extruded out of the big rectangle. So I'm going to choose that. I'm going to change that distance to 0.75. And then we're going to come back and add this extra block. So now I need a sketch of a square on this front face. So sketch on the face, a rectangle that's going to have two geometric constraints. One in that corner and one in the bottom left corner. So I don't even need dimensions here. The geometry will just constrain this if I am careful about where I click. I accept that sketch, and I'm going to extrude that rectangle, which happens to be a square. One block out, 0.75. It's going to add to what is now part 9. Now, if I'd like it to be the purple part, I can right click and edit the appearance and pick a purple. And I can rename it purple part. All right, one to go. So let's sketch on the front plane again. When I turn normal, it kind of goes back to the origins. Then it makes me like pan over here. Normal means trying to look at that face straight on. But when I click that, it kind of goes somewhere else. So this is, think of like a big rectangle missing a block right here. Because on the back side, you can see that. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just not one in that corner. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a rectangle, making sure when I start I don't have any auto constraints. So I click, move my mouse diagonally just to establish the direction I'm going. Click again, and now I switch to the keyboard. Overall width is 3 blocks, which is 2.25. Overall height is 1 block, which is 1.5. Let's fix a corner so that rectangle is stuck. Next, I'm going to get a square rectangle tool, and I'm going to make one in the bottom right corner so that I can have a region that doesn't get selected when I extrude. So I started at the corner. I'm moving my mouse up and left just to establish the direction, and I click. I switch to my keyboard, and I type the exact dimensions, which is a square of 0.75 by 0.75. Okay. At that point, I accept my sketch. I turn on the extrude tool. Okay, I'm going to extrude it 1 block, 0.75. I'm going to accept that. And I'm now going to add this block on that face. So it's going to be a rectangle or a square in this bottom right corner here. So sketch on this face, rectangle tool. Okay, I'm going to pull that up, establish the direction, but I'm not really worried about trying to get the exact distance. I'm just going to establish that and click. And then I will type on my keyboard 0.75 or 0.75. You guys can't really, I guess, watch my hands, but I literally am doing everything with one hand. I just kind of keep moving my right hand from keyboard to mouse. All right, yeah. All right, I'm going to accept that. Extrude this square. 1 block. Typo. Good to catch it. It is on add, which is correct. It should add on to the other gray piece, which I'll turn green here in a second. Accept that. And we're going to take this last part. We're going to rename it green. And we are going to color it green. Okay. Now, I did not keep up with making folders, but I'll go back and do that right now. So real quick, let's see. I did make folders for blue and orange. For red, it took a sketch, an extrusion, and then another sketch and another extrusion to get that extra block in front. All of these last three took 2 sketches and 2 extrusions. So it's sketch, extrude, sketch, extrude. That's the pattern. Kind of sketch, use the sketch. Sketch, use a sketch. So those 4 items were used to make the red piece. So I'm going to click that and make a folder. Those things will go into this folder called the red part. All right, clicking the white to deselect, and then just kind of see here. Oh, that's because I'm going to drag this. This was kind of fixing that one that I caught. I'm going to drag that up into the demo folder. It was something else. All right, and then let's see. Oh, and that extrusion was with the demo, sketch and extrude. Okay, so that should get me to purple here. So purple sketch, first sketch the U, extruded that, then did a sketch of a square on the face of that and extruded that. These are your 4 steps to make purple. So I clicked on all 4, add a folder. These 4 items will go into the purple part folder. And then lastly, I have a sketch extrude for green. Add folder, green part. So there is how to create all 5 of these puzzle shapes.